Zeppelin has been remembered as the ultimate live juggernaut, a band of myth and legend. But Plant insists the truth is a little more complicated. So Plant admitted that fronting Zeppelin could be sometimes a, quote, nerve-wracking experience, and he gave some specific reasons why. One of them was because the band was essentially a three-piece: Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham, fronted by him as the only singer. Sure, Jimmy Page pitched in a little bit on background vocals, but for the most part, Plant was out there on an island as the singer in the band. There was nowhere for him to hide, no backup vocals, no safety net. That intensity made every performance high stakes. So if you saw Led Zeppelin live back in the day, like many of my viewers, did Plant's raw, exposed vocals stand out to you? Plant, in the interview, also took aim at the long-standing myth that Zeppelin was always a monster live band. He says some shows were, quote, perhaps not so magnificent, end quote, and at times even messy. Instead of being tight and inspired every night, he says, sometimes it was quite the opposite, because that was the great thing about the group. It was like the weather. It could be extraordinarily good, or on the other hand, perhaps not so magnificent. It wasn't sent down from the gods every day, every week, end quote. The band was shifting and discovering and unpredictable, and this is part of their magic. So finally, Plant put the ultimate spin on the whole thing by saying that Led Zeppelin's brilliance wasn't something that could be counted on, but it had to be searched for. In other words, they weren't flawless superhuman performers. They were a band of real musicians, creative artists that were sometimes transcendent and sometimes not. And for many fans who saw them in person, the honesty of their performance stood out, whether they were good or bad. And if you were lucky enough to catch them on one of their great nights, you probably touched an unforgettable high. But if you happened to see them on one of their bad nights, you probably walked away feeling like you were kind of jilted. So if you were there back in the day, or if you've seen a lot of bootlegs, what's your verdict? Were Zeppelin's live shows legendary, or legendary with an asterisk, meaning legendary only in memory but a subpart in reality? If we listen to Robert Plant, who is setting the record straight in this interview, the Zeppelin myth was built on thunder and lightning, but even storms have their quiet moments. So what I want to know from you, especially if you happen to see Led Zeppelin live, is what are your memories? And I've heard from quite a few people in other videos that I've done that saw Led Zeppelin live back in the day, and they said that they were inconsistent at best. What I'd like to hear from is people who saw Zeppelin back in the day and thought that they were mind-blowing and saw them in their full glory. That would be really cool. For my own part, I have not yet come across a bootleg or a YouTube video or anything like that that would give me that sense of the greatness of Led Zeppelin like you hear it when people talk. This is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot. MusicGuru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.